From the start, so you do humble yourself twice.
What do I say?
All right, so boys start. All right, boys start.
Okay.
All right, ready? Humble yourself before the Lord. Humble yourself before the Lord. And He shall lift you up higher and higher, and He shall lift you up. All right, we'll do it.
Okay, third time.
To the refrain.
Wait.
We'll end it there.
Wait.
Fun? Let's get to the refrain at least. All right, 3, 2, 1. Humble yourself before the Lord. Humble yourself before the Lord. And He shall lift you up higher and higher, and He shall lift you up into the heavens, and He shall lift you up. Our God is an awesome God, He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Our God is an awesome God, He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Serve the Lord with all your heart. Serve the Lord with all your heart. And He shall lift you up higher and higher, and He shall lift you up into the heavens, and He shall lift you up.
Keep going. That was actually good.
Guys, we have a third row. We have a third row minimum. Third row minimum. Hope. Come forward. Nick, Mary, come. Man, we can't have extended out to the back of the church business. COVID's safe. COVID's not over. This is a thing. Come. Don't be shy. Nick, at least move to the aisle in front of you. If you want to follow on with references, just a little bit. All right, guys. You all right? Is your leg all right? Sure. PPFM. His PPFM broke. All right. Guys, we'll start in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. God, amen. You guys have been, I don't know what the right word is, but stuck or you've been trapped with me this week. Our speaker, the initial speaker apologizes, and we've apologized for the changes in the last few weeks. They're uncalled for, but hopefully we'll have a bit more consistency in the weeks to come. So who remembers what we spoke about last week, or what the topic was last week? I'm a bit sick, so I'll take it a bit slow. Let me just get some tissues. But who remembers what we spoke about last week? Friendship? Yeah? What about friendship? It's a bit controversial. Someone said friendship. What about friendship? Friendships that lead you to Christ, yeah, and the friendships that don't. What were the friendships that lead you to Christ? What are the characteristics of a friend that leads to Christ? Just at least for those that weren't here, they can have a summary, because believe it or not, today's topic relates in a way to what was spoken about last week. Any characteristics that come to mind? Yeah? On the same path? Yeah? They share a same goal? Lovely. We're going to speak about goals today. What else? Same values, morals. You know how they say you're the average of your 5 closest friends? You ever heard that saying? It's true. So if I have a friend that's very close to God, very righteous, and I have a friend that's maybe a bit distant, I'm going to be the average of the 2, or the 5. So very important to be careful of who's around us and who we are acquaintance with. What about the other side? What about the not so good friends? What's the characteristics of them usually? Every time I meet someone's eyes, they look away. I love it. Maybe Amos can answer. Straight away, see? My eyes met, they were gone. They was looking forward. What else? What sort of characteristics do the not so good friends have? Opposite, yeah? So they probably lead us to a different goal. Someone whispered something? Lead us astray. They have maybe their own agenda. Yeah. So all leads to the main theme of the road to righteousness, because that's what we're talking about today, or talking about in these next few weeks, the road to righteousness. And I love this analogy of a road, because a road, when you're on a road, you're only at the one position of the road. You can only see what's coming at you. And that's our life, in general. We're only here where we are now. We can only deal with the situations that come ahead of us. We can't deal what's at the beginning of the road. It's too late. It's not within our power. Yeah, we can take the right turns so our future road is better, but we're really in control of now. Okay? And today's topic, which is success, relates a lot to this idea of a road, because we're all on this road, and as the analogy goes, we're all on a path, the wide or the wide and the narrow path, and we all have a purpose that we're trying to achieve. And we're going to discuss success, or how success relates to this road, the road to righteousness. So, out of curiosity, or before I start, success is something that's actually been on my mind a lot lately. I think you get to a stage in your life where you start thinking, what am I actually trying to achieve? I think when you finish uni, you'll sort of think like, all right, I finished uni, I'm working, now what? What am I actually here to do? What am I actually here to achieve? What do I want to leave this world with? Or what do I want to do? So it's something that's been plaguing me lately, and it's something I've been thinking about. And I think it's something that we have to have on the forefront of our mind. Because as we're going to soon discover, success relates a lot with purpose. The two come hand in hand. And we'll discover that in a moment. So out of curiosity, when you think of the word success, who comes to mind? The first person, boom. I just thought of someone. Who did you guys think of? Everyone should have an answer. Success. Boom. Who's the person that comes to mind? Daniel Ate. Whoa. Whoa. Daniel Ate came to my mind. And he just walked in. What a coincidence. What did you guys think? Bill Gates. I don't know about that one. Jesus. Who else? Success. Trump. Steve Jobs. Someone said Steve Jobs. Nick. Huh? Michael Jordan. Yes. First billionaire athlete. Kanye West. Who else? Huh? Kylie Jenner. Don't know. Some Turkish film actress. Hope. Who do you think of when you think of the word success? God. Yeah? Yeah? God? You go with God? Dad? Amazing. I'm just curious. Huh? Yeah? A lot of yeah? I want to meet this yeah bloke. Shrug of shoulder. Michael Jackson. Warren Buffett. Has everyone said something? Carla. I don't know. Pierre. Where is he? Pierre. Who do you think? Who comes to mind? Well, Oprah Winfrey came to my mind. I don't know why. Yeah, probably. Very. It's. Yeah. YouTube stars. You know, TikTok stars for this day and age. So I think a lot of the people you guys said associate with more money, fame, influence. Okay? So that's the worldly success. Okay, so we have our definition there. When we think of the worldly definition of success, it usually relates to those things. Usually relates to fame. Some people said Jesus, some people said God. Great, you're on the right track. But when we're usually defining success in worldly terms, it usually has a correlation with those things. Usually has a correlation with power. Now, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, don't get me wrong, but those things are a means to true success. That's what we're trying to do. They're a means. They're only a means. They're a talent. We're going to get onto that later. There's something that we've been given, and those things that we've been given need to assist us to achieve true success, which is what we're going to come to now. So when we come to define success, the dictionary definition of success is the accomplishment of an aim or a purpose. It's not the Bible, this is the dictionary definition. The accomplishment of an aim or a purpose. Underline that word purpose. Okay? Now we're going to discuss the word purpose. So what does purpose mean? Does anyone have an idea? What does the word purpose mean? Huh? The reason why you're doing something? Yeah? Motive? Great word. Love that word. Motive. What else? Nick? Yes? What do you think? Complex what? Yeah. I've heard this years. Love that word. My favorite word of the night. So we'll go back to the dictionary. The reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. So it's even deeper than motive. It's the reason something exists. It's the reason something occurs. It's the reason something is created. Now we're getting very deep. So what's the reason we were created? To love God? To serve God? Anyone else? Yeah, this does get deep, but can you see the correlation between purpose and success? Success relates directly to purpose. So, in order to be successful in life, or what we define as success, we need to understand what is our purpose. And we turn to no other but the Bible. In John chapter 6, verse 40, you can bring it up if you like. But this is our purpose. This is our big overarching goal in life. And I'll read it verbatim just so you guys know. And this is the will of him who sent me. All right, it's Christ talking. That everyone, hear it, because this is your purpose in life, so don't miss this. That everyone who sees the Son, believes in him, that's the first step, may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Okay? That is our end goal. Okay? That everyone that believes in him, so firstly to believe in him. Secondly, that they may have everlasting life, and that they may be raised up on the last day. Okay? That's our ultimate purpose in life. Alright? So where do we sit in between these two definitions of success? That's the conundrum we have. Because we know that Satan is the liar, the father of all liars. We know all that. But the issue is sometimes it's not a lie. Sometimes we believe half-truths. Sometimes a lie is better than a half-truth. Because a half-truth shows itself as a truth, but it's actually a lie. But a lie is, and its face value is a lie. So we can't get confused. But Satan sometimes uses this, or has this vision of success for us, and makes us believe that that's our ultimate purpose. But it's not our ultimate purpose. What those other things are that we have, those other little goals that we have in our life, those are a means, as I mentioned earlier, a means to get that last final purpose, that big goal if you want to call it. So we have two types of purposes. We have a major purpose, which is universal for all, salvation for all, and we have minor purposes in our life. And that relates to the parable of the talents. Okay, does everyone remember the parable of the talents? Can anyone give a quick summary of the story? Just because I'm sort of sick of my voice and I'm losing it slowly. What's the parable of the talents? What happened? Anyone? Give it a shot. Give it a shot. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. 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 Perfect. So, a couple of different stewards. Remember, there's stewards, and then the master gave him certain amounts of talents, and each were, told to go and multiply the talents. The one that had one, we know, just hid it and didn't really do much, while the one that had, 10 multiplied it and gained more talents from that. So the first thing we know is some people are given more, some people are given less. That's the first thing. And it's not that the person that has more more fame, more success, more anything in life is more favored. Because, and hear this, the indication of success is not the amount of talents you're given. Yeah? It's the amount of multiplication you can do with those talents. So even if you're given one, and you multiply that one talent, you're still seen favorably in the eyes of the Lord. Okay? And this is a lesson for us that we shouldn't compare what gifts we're given with the person next to us. Because what gifts that person has isn't necessarily an indication of success or a good indication. We need to realize what we have, and we need to realize how we can multiply what we have, is basically what I'm saying. But the key to all these different talents is they all take work. All right? Talents or attributes or anything that we've been given in life doesn't just multiply on its own. We need to do something on our end. Okay? And this is the exact reason why, as I was saying earlier, the doctor or the builder or anyone that has a profession isn't better than the other. It doesn't really matter what you do, so to say. It matters how you spend or what you do with what you do. So, for example, the doctor, for example, can do good works, and with the money he makes, he can use it to good. Or the talent he has, he can assist those that are in pain, or he can use his remedies on people that are struggling. He can do everything he has for the glory of God. And that's the real indication of success. If it goes back to that first purpose, if I can have that attribute, have that talent, and it can relate back to my main purpose, which is everlasting life, achieving that. But the problem is when we get sidetracked by this other indication of success, which is the fame, the fortune, that worldly caliber. So I'll just go through what did God say to the faithful servant. And this goes back to our purpose. This is where the two sort of meet up. So in Matthew 25, he says, which verse? Well done, good and faithful. Well done, good and faithful servant. Yeah, 21. Yeah. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. See the multiplication effect? It's not that, well done, good and faithful servant, I gave you a lot and you maintained your lot. No. I gave you a few little things, and because you were faithful in that, you made it a lot. That's the indication of the success. And then the final thing, enter into the joy of your Lord. Enter into the joy of your Lord. If we go back to the first reference that I said, John 6:40, that everyone who believes the Son believes in him may have everlasting, and I will raise him up at the last day. Do the two sound the same? I'll repeat it again. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Who sees the Son believes in him, and he may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Okay? So we see that correlation. The talents or the attributes that we've been given can be used for us to get that final goal, which is the kingdom of heaven. And it all depends on how we use it. Okay? And the faithfulness by which we use it. All right? And so what does he say to the slothful servant? So this is the opposite. So this is when, in verse 26, in that same. So this is what happens when we don't realize, number one, we don't realize the talents we have, and number two, we choose not to sort of multiply or choose not to sort of work towards the goals we've been given. So he says, "You wicked and lazy servant, you know that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." So the servant, the lazy servant, the slothful servant, what we see here, although he had little, the problem wasn't that he had little. The problem that he wasn't fulfilling his purpose. Your purpose, or our purpose in this life, is to realize the God-given gifts we've been given and to use them for the glory of God. If we don't achieve that goal through the talents we've been given, this is the unfortunate outcome. Yeah? So, we really need to take that idea home, that it's not what we have, it's not what we've been given, it's what we multiply, it's what we do with it. That's the true success. Okay, so obviously comparison is out of the question, because everything we have, even the little things, are all a gift. So then if we look to the Bible and we think of the word success, who comes to mind in the biblical context when we think of success? Joseph, yeah, exactly. So we think of the verse straight away, the Lord was with Joseph and he was a successful man. Has anyone ever heard that verse? Yeah? No? You heard it? From the top of your mind, does anyone know the second part of that verse? No. The second part of the verse, and this is actually, when I heard this point, it was actually very interesting. The second part of the verse says, and we always forget this part, "And he was in the house of his master the Egyptian." So the full verse reads, "The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian." So you ask the question, why, in the midst of Joseph's slavery, is he called a successful man? Yeah? Why did the author of the book, or God, through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, choose to put the verse here? Why didn't he choose to put it when he was second in charge under Pharaoh? What do you think? Beats me. Find out. Yes. Yes. Yes, because success for Joseph began very early, because success related directly to what his purpose in life was, what his calling was to do in the life that he had been given. So Joseph had this attitude of success, this attitude of achieving his purpose from a very, very early time in his life. And you see when you read the story of Joseph, it got him into trouble at times. Well, just in a couple of instances, when he was telling the dreams to his brothers. It's your dreams are so clear that, it's going to be taken as that you're ridiculing your brothers and your father. But he was faithful in the attributes that he had been given. And that same attribute of interpreting dreams later on gets him out of prison. So the faithfulness in that goal. We see his faithfulness in avoiding Potiphar's wife. We see his 20/20 vision of what his purpose is. That even before the law is made and Moses even speaks of adultery, Joseph knows that what Potiphar is suggesting is not aligned with his purpose and his values. So we see he has a clear vision of what he wants to achieve. And we know if Joseph followed his inclinations at any stage of his life, it would have gotten him into a fair bit of trouble. We know that if he had gone down the path of revenge to his brothers, we know that would have been no good for him. I mean, he possibly would have died. His brothers possibly would have killed him before they sold him to the Egyptians. We know that if he followed his desires or inclinations with Potiphar's wife, it may have got him into more severe trouble with Potiphar. But because he had that clearness of vision, that clearness of purpose, although he suffered, he was eventually glorified. He was eventually avenged, if you want to call it. And he was, in the eyes of the world, even seen as a successful man. And we know at the end of Joseph's life, Christ would have said those words. He definitely would have said, "Enter into the joy of your Lord." And we know, and we have the confirmation that the righteous people in the Old Testament would have entered into the joy of the Lord after, obviously, the incarnation and salvation. But the point is clear. Joseph had that clear purpose. Joseph had that clear goal, and the fruits of that are seen. So to finish off, I've rambled on a fair bit, my apologies, but to finish, I just want to say 5 points to live a life of true success. We'll end on that. See how we're doing for time. So the first point, and this is also from the life of, this relates to the life of Joseph. First point is silence. To live a life of true success, we need to live a life of silence. We know that Joseph was silent in the face of his abusive brothers. Yeah? And we know that his silence resembles Christ. He's a clear image of Christ. Because, and as the prophecy goes, he was a lamb that was led to the slaughter. And we know that if Christ wasn't silent amidst his persecutors, we know that if Christ wasn't humble to that extent, he wouldn't have achieved that goal of salvation for us. We know that was the plan from the start. So, silence allows us to focus on our purpose. Okay? Because silence puts aside all the other noise that we experience, all the other inclinations, all the other desires, all the other things that distract us from what we're trying to achieve. Okay? So like building a house or building anything, a lot of the work begins in silence. Yeah? The planning stage, nothing really happens on the construction site. But months and months go on before, the first tool or the first actual physical work is made. This is an indication. The silent step is one of the most important steps because it's the foundation. Our foundation is living that silent life, is having that silent relationship with God where we can have that clear vision and that clear purpose of what we're trying to achieve. And as the saying goes, failing to plan is planning to fail. So, failing to be silent is, I don't know how that was a fail. That was a fail, literally fail. Number 2, belong to God. Okay? So God wants nothing but the best of us, best for us. Sometimes we don't believe this truth. Sometimes we think, or sometimes we have this thought that this is a punishment. God just doesn't want this for us. Or we just have this ideology at times where we put God in a negative light in any situation, or we blame God for whatever happens. But when we read in Jeremiah 29 verse 11, he says, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and the future." So I'll repeat it because it's very comforting. "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." So God has a plan for us. God wants the best for us, and He wants a future for us. He doesn't want to bring us down. He doesn't want to, let us go back 10 steps. It's not what he wants for us. He wants the best for us. He wants the best for you. So this attitude of blaming God, this attitude of putting God in the spotlight when something goes wrong is not true. It's a straight lie. And if it seems that way, it might be that, speaking of the road of righteousness, God is leading us down a different path. Wants us to go in a different direction to achieve His purpose, to achieve His will. So in the path of fulfilling your purpose, or in the path of achieving your goal, achieving your what you were given to do, or using your talents, we need to understand that there is a struggle along the way. There is a sort of pain, or there is issues that we will face, and that's the truth of the matter. And it sort of goes. I don't know if you guys recall the story of the alabaster flask. What happened? What happened before the fragrance could be smelt is the glass or the vial needed to be broken. That was the old school containers. The glass was broken. I think in some syringes nowadays they have it. It needs to sort of be broken so the things can be exposed. And it's the same with us. So in belonging to God, yes, He has a plan, but there is a certain pain and suffering that we will experience. And like the alabaster flask, only when we are broken, only when we experience pain, can our true fragrance or our true beauty be seen. So at times we must be broken in order for our true purpose to be achieved. But we need to know, and we need to be comforted that God has a bigger plan and a bigger purpose, even amidst the struggles and even amidst the pain. As we read in Corinthians, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, what God has for those who love Him. Point number 3, don't compromise. And this goes back to Joseph. So Joseph's number one priority was always his purpose. And we always return back to that image of, in that situation with Potiphar's wife. Joseph didn't compromise on his values whatsoever. So the third point, don't compromise. At all costs, don't compromise on your values. Don't compromise on the purpose and the talents you've been given. Number 4 is do. Okay? So having a goal is great, and having a goal and a purpose is not enough. We need to do. And this really reminds me of a saying by, we'll quote him anyway, but I don't know if you heard the saying by Bruce Lee. He says, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Okay? So having a goal, having a purpose is lovely, but so long as we don't put anything into action, it has no purpose. It has no benefit to us. So good intentions are great, but work is what really matters. And the fifth and final point, and it's sort of like a little cycle. This particular point number 5, consolidates everything. So point number 5 is attribute everything to God. So if we begin to see success in our life, we need to attribute that success back to God. Okay? Because we need to remember that He was the one that initially gave us that talent to start with. And He gave us the ability to work with that talent that it may become something more. So with everything we have, we must give it back to God as a gift. I don't know if you ever heard the story of one of these. He's a very famous Protestant evangelist in the United States. His name is Rick Warren. But what Rick and his wife said, a promise or an oath they gave to God, is every year after marriage, they're going to give 1% extra tithe to the church. So the first year of marriage, 10%. Second year of marriage, 11%. The third year of marriage, 13%. On and on and on. Huh? 15th year? You have to do the math. Get out your calculator. I think it's 25 or maybe 26. Is it? 25. Because 10 plus 15 is 25. Huh? Until the stage where he wrote a book, and it's a very famous book called A Purpose-Driven Life. I don't know if anyone has, what was it? Is that another one of his books? It might be, I don't know. But anyway, there's a very, that's a good one. So he wrote a book called A Purpose-Driven Life. And this book is was a bestseller for 3 or 4 years in a row. Okay? And this pastor made millions of dollars from this book. Okay? So it got to a stage where he was tithing 90% of his wage, all right? Okay, and living off 10%, because he could, with the royalties from the book, he could do that. And not only did he do that, also all the wage that the church gave him in his years as a priest, he gifted it back to the church. Okay? So we see that God had gifted him with so much, okay? But he had that attitude of returning it back to God. And that's the same with us. Whenever we're given something, whenever we're given success in our life, we need to have this attitude to return the favor, not return the favor, but return the gift back to God. Okay? So I'll end off with a final quote. It's a lucky last before we end up. And it's by a lovely priest called, his name is Untitled Chapter, and this relates to the 5th point. And he says, "My Lord, by reflecting on..." No, my writing's really bad. "My Lord, by reflecting on... I see you only looking at me." Sorry, "My Lord, by reflecting on my weakness, I see you only looking at me, and with great concern, as if no one on earth existed but me. You watch over me as though you forgot about your whole creation. You grant me your gifts as though I'm the only one that's the subject of your love." Okay? So just as a quick summary, I'd like to summarize just so you guys have this fresh in your head. So we know success relates to purpose, and our ultimate purpose in life is the kingdom of heaven. And that verse which says, "Have everlasting life and raise him up at the last day," we know that as the major purpose of our life. We know that the talents or the attributes we've been given are a means by which we can attain that purpose, but it takes work. But we need to work the talents we've been given so that they may bear fruit, and they may allow us to enter into that joy. And finally, we spoke about the 5 points to live a life of true success. 1 being silence, 2 being belonging to God, 3 being not to compromise on our values. Does anyone remember what the 4th one is? 2-letter word. Do. Lovely. And 5th, attribute everything to God. Sorry? Yes, it's a cycle. It consolidates all the other points. It's like the backbone of it. Lovely. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening and bearing with me in my deep sickness. In terms of announcements, next week we actually have a combined meeting with Guildford Church We have a great speaker organized named Johnny Shirkawi.